I call on the Israeli government to abandon its annexation plans.
For a wider look at Israel's annexation ambitions, let's bring in Hatem Bazian, a professor of Islamic Law at the University of California, Berkeley. Thanks so much for being with us. You know, the pattern we've seen over the years and decades, really, is that of international condemnation for Israeli plans, new UN resolutions, and then Israel proceeds to do what it said it was going to do nonetheless, with no repercussions. So, will Israel annex the West Bank next month?
For anyone that has been observing Israeli policy, Israel has been working on creating legal as well as facts on the ground. Israel began to annex the West Bank immediately after the 1967 in a de facto annexation when they annexed Jerusalem. Then they began by annexing the Golan Heights thereafter. And when the Likud party came into power, they began to build settlements and move population into the West Bank. So the annexation has been de facto systematic in Israel. And now it seems because Netanyahu was facing political trouble last year domestically, he nodded to the right wing, to the settlers and the settlement community in order to solidify his political base. Also, Netanyahu is reading the broader world political arena, U.S. with Trump, Boris Johnson in the UK, as well as some support from the Arab world in order to get what he called Greater Israel. So this is the type of landscape that we're dealing with at this time.
Okay, so you think it will go ahead?
Well, all indications is Netanyahu is ready to go ahead with it.
Right.
Yesterday, there was a letter from the congressional Republicans, in essence, supporting Israel's position. And Trump and Kushner in the United States, as well as David Friedman in U.S. ambassador to Israel, are all on the same line in supporting Netanyahu.
Okay.
So we don't see any counter pressure. But again, we'll have to wait and see to July 1st to see what Netanyahu's next step will be.
Okay. We heard there what the UN Secretary-General had to say. Let's listen, though, to what the United States is saying about annexation. Here's Secretary of State Mike Pompeo speaking just a few hours ago.
We unveiled a Middle East peace vision some number of months ago now, and we're continuing to work down that path. The decisions about Israeli and extending sovereignty to other places are decisions for the Israelis to make. What we've asked is for them to come together, for Israel and the Palestinian people to come to the table, to negotiate a path forward and to find a resolution to this decades-long challenge. I remain hopeful that in the coming weeks, we can begin to make real progress towards achieving that.
You know, you would think they actually couldn't be talking about the same issue. One is saying this is how we achieve peace. The other saying this is the most serious violation of international law and it threatens regional security.
But one has to read between what Pompeo is saying. He did not say that this is a violation of international law.
No, I'm saying UN Secretary-General has said that.
Well, I know
right.
The UN Secretary have said it's a violation of law, but the State Department and Pompeo have already given the nod to Israel with the Kushner plan to actually annex the Jordan Valley. If you read the Kushner plan, which I did, it actually already gives concession to Israel to annex the Jordan Valley. It already also speaks about annexing the settlements into Israel proper. So what Pompeo is giving this charade or impression that there is anything called the peace process. There has not been a peace process since at least the year 2000 when the Camp David and Taba gathering took place. From that moment on, Israel has already not only buried the peace process, but it built settlements, it continued to destroy Palestinian homes, continued to increase the settlements and settler footprint. Just to give people an indication, when the Oslo Agreement was signed in 1993, there were approximately 250,000 settlers in the West Bank. Now we're dealing with 630,000 settlers that are in the West Bank. So all indication that Israel has been systematically undermining any notion of a two-state solution. It is dead right now, the notion of a two-state solution.
Okay. Hatem Bazian, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate your time.